The Titanic disaster, hidden facts people never knew. On a freezing night in April 1912, deep in the North Atlantic Ocean, a ship that was believed to be unstoppable began its final journey into darkness. A ship built to represent the peak of human achievement. A ship called the Titanic disaster. But what really happened that night is far more complex than the simple version taught in history books. Because behind the luxury, behind the headlines, and behind the tragedy, there are hidden truths, strange coincidences, human errors, and unanswered questions that still haunt investigators more than 100 years later. And tonight, we go deeper than ever before. Chapter 1. The ship built to defeat death. The Titanic was not just a ship, it was a statement. Built by the White Star Line, it was designed to be the largest and most luxurious passenger liner in the world. Its interiors were inspired by luxury hotels, grand staircases modelled after European palaces, crystal chandeliers hanging from gilded ceilings, Turkish baths, smoking lounges, reading rooms, first-class suites larger than many apartments of the time. But behind the glamour, there was pressure. Pressure to complete construction quickly. Pressure to compete with rival shipping companies. And pressure to prove dominance over the sea itself. Some shipyard workers later claimed that during construction, small issues were quietly ignored. The minor structural misalignments, rivets that were not always uniform, tight deadlines that pushed safety margins. None of these issues were enough alone to doom a ship. But history is rarely about one mistake. It is about a chain of them. Chapter 2. The final journey begins. On April 10th, 1912, the Titanic departed Southampton, England. Crowds cheered. Families waved. Passengers smiled. Many believed they were boarding something greater than a ship. They believed they were boarding the future. Among them were some of the wealthiest people in the world, including industrialists, businessmen, and influential families. But also aboard were immigrants traveling in third class, hoping for a new life in America. Two worlds, one ship, and an ocean waiting silently ahead. Chapter 3. Ice warnings that were never fully understood. As the Titanic crossed the Atlantic, multiple ships sent ice warnings. Large ice fields were reported drifting farther south than usual. But communication in 1912 was limited. Wireless operators were overwhelmed with passenger messages and routine traffic. Some warnings were delayed, some were partially ignored, and some never reached key officers at all. That night, the sea was unusually calm. No waves, no wind. A phenomenon later described by survivors as unnatural stillness. This calm water made it nearly impossible to see icebergs without breaking waves, and that silence became deadly. Chapter 4. The iceberg that changed everything. At approximately 11:40 p.m., lookout Frederick Fleet spotted something ahead. He rang the warning bell, then shouted the now famous words, "Iceberg right ahead." The ship's first officer, William Murdoch, reacted immediately. Engines reversed. Rudder turned hard. Emergency procedures activated, but Titanic's size worked against it. It was too massive to turn quickly. Instead of a direct collision, the iceberg scraped along the starboard side, creating a series of hidden ruptures below the waterline. Passengers barely noticed. Some even continued dining. But below deck, water had already begun its silent invasion. Chapter 5. The structural truth. No one wanted to admit. One of the most controversial aspects of the disaster is the ship's internal design. Titanic had watertight compartments, but they were not fully sealed at the top, meaning once enough compartments filled, water could spill over into the next, like filling ice cube trays connected without lids. This design meant the ship was only unsinkable under specific conditions, not under extreme multi-compartment flooding. Modern analysis suggests if the damage had been just a few feet shorter, the ship might have stayed afloat. A difference of meters changed history forever. Chapter 6. The radio silence that cost lives. One of the most debated failures involves nearby ships. The Titanic sent distress signals as soon as the situation became serious. The famous CQD and later SOS signals were transmitted repeatedly. But the closest ship, the SS Californian crew, reportedly saw distress rockets. However, their wireless operator had gone off duty. They did not fully understand the severity of the situation. Meanwhile, another ship, the RMS Carpathia, raced through dangerous ice fields to respond. But it was 58 miles away. By the time it arrived, the Titanic was already gone. Chapter 7. Class, Chaos, and Human Behavior. When evacuation began, confusion spread quickly. Many passengers did not understand the seriousness of the situation. Some were told the ship was unsinkable. Others were instructed to put on life jackets as a precaution. But as time passed, reality became undeniable. The evacuation process revealed harsh truths. Lifeboats were not filled to capacity. Crews struggled with crowd control. Communication between decks failed, and survival often depended not just on luck, but on location. First-class passengers had easier access to boat decks. Third-class passengers faced longer routes and barriers, not necessarily intentional, but devastating in effect. Chapter 8. The half-full lifeboat tragedy. Perhaps the most haunting detail of all, many lifeboats were launched half-empty. Why? Because officers feared they might collapse under weight. They prioritized safety of lifeboats over saving maximum lives. This decision, made under panic and uncertainty, resulted in hundreds of preventable deaths. The ocean was cold enough to kill within minutes, so every empty seat in a lifeboat meant a life left behind. Chapter 9. The band that refused to stop playing. As chaos grew, something extraordinary happened. The ship's musicians continued playing music. Their goal was not entertainment. It was calm. They played to reduce panic, to maintain order, and to give passengers something stable in a collapsing world. Survivors never agreed on their final song, but many believed it was. Nearer, my God, to thee. Their sacrifice became one of the most symbolic moments of human courage in maritime history. Chapter 10. The final minutes of the Titanic. As the bow sank deeper, the ship began to break apart internally. Electrical systems failed. Lights flickered. Steam exploded from ruptured systems. The stern rose into the air, creating a vertical silhouette against the night sky. Passengers clung to rails. Some jumped. Others prayed. The temperature in the water was near freezing. Survival time, 10 to 15 minutes for most victims. Then, silence. The great ship disappeared beneath the Atlantic. Chapter 11. The aftermath and global shock. When news reached the world, shock followed immediately. Investigations were launched in both the United States and Britain. The United States Senate Titanic inquiry examined testimony from survivors and crew. The British Wreck Commission also conducted hearings. Key findings included lifeboat shortages, ice warnings not properly acted upon, speed maintained in dangerous waters, communication failures. Public outrage led to immediate maritime reforms. New laws required enough lifeboats for all passengers, continuous radio monitoring, ice patrol systems in the North Atlantic. The ocean would never be sailed the same way again. Chapter 12. Conspiracy. Theories and alternate stories. Over the years, theories emerged. 1. The switch theory. Some claim Titanic was secretly swapped with its damaged sister ship Olympic for insurance fraud. 2. The curse theory. Others believe the ship was doomed by fate or superstition. 3. The fire theory. Some modern researchers suggest a coal fire weakened the hull before departure. While none are fully proven, they continue to fuel public fascination. Because when tragedy is this large, people search for meaning beyond accident. Chapter 13. The modern discovery of the wreck. In 1985, the wreck of the Titanic was finally discovered deep under the ocean. It lies nearly 3,800 meters below the surface. Explorers found intact staircases, shoes still resting on the seafloor, sections of the hull standing like ruins, personal belongings frozen in time. It is not just a wreck. It is a time capsule, a silent city under the sea. Chapter 14. Why the Titanic still haunts us. The Titanic continues to fascinate the world because it represents something deeper than disaster. It represents belief that humans can conquer nature, belief that technology can remove risk, and belief that progress has no limits. But the ocean reminded everyone of a simple truth. Nature does not negotiate. Final chapter, a lesson written in ice and steel. The story of the Titanic disaster is not just about the past. It is about humility, about how small mistakes become massive consequences, and how confidence without caution leads to disaster. Even today, the Titanic rests on the ocean floor, slowly dissolving into history. But its message remains permanent. If you enjoyed this deep documentary story, make sure to like this video, comment your thoughts below, subscribe for more Untold history documentaries. Next Level Pro. From forgotten mysteries to shocking true events. We go deeper than the headlines. And next time, you might hear a story you were never supposed to know.